Hi, I'm Nid, and I love sharing each month a little tip around a theme that I work with my community and how you might be able to use it in your daily life to bring a little bit more awareness and connection to the full expression of your spiritual being in this human experience. So for March 2022, we are exploring the theme of surrender. It evolves from my January theme, which was grace, which does often require that we surrender in order for grace to be received. But that's not always the case. And also, learning to surrender is how we can make transformation. It's how change can happen, is when we surrender to something that we don't know, the unknown, all the possibilities that may come through. And that is what grace does, is grace gives us possibilities we've not perceived. It gives us something that is like mind-blowing beyond what we would have probably problem solved for ourselves. And so surrender at this time in our experience seems like a really useful theme for us to get into practicing. So I wanted to give you a 4-step process to practice getting into a state of surrender more frequently so that you can keep allowing transformation to happen in your personal life, in your relationships, and in the world that you interact with. So, first question is, how is surrender different? Is it the opposite of control? Well, yes and no. The opposite of control can also be to submit, to roll over in an apathetic way and just go, whatever, I don't know. And that often then comes with a sense of resignation, maybe a bit of resentment, a bit of like, I wanted it different, that's not how I want it to be, this isn't fair, I don't like it, where's the justice? Those kind of feelings. Those kind of feelings may be a response, but it's not going to be a supportive and empowering response. It's going to be something that's going to often leave us feeling hard done by and maybe a little bit lacking, or maybe even a victim. So we want to try not to roll into submission, but to actively choose whether or not we surrender to a situation and allow ourselves to fully accept it as it is, or whether or not we need to stand in a sense of authority within the situation and hold the control of our own inner experience in our response to the situation if we can't change the external circumstance that we are in. So surrender actually is very active, and it's a very active process of your willpower, of a real commitment and discipline of your inner resources to really be a conduit of something more than what is apparently in front of you in this moment. So we normally wait until we're so overwhelmed that we just cannot even find an answer anymore, and then we go, and that's when we surrender, right? It's because it's like we've given up, we've run out of all options. But it's possible to surrender before you get to that point if you develop and cultivate this will I'm talking about. So it takes a lot of courage to consciously and actively choose to surrender before you've exhausted all those possibilities. It's a hugely courageous way of living, is into the unknown, into trusting what may come through that you haven't perceived as possible. And that is relinquishing of your own control of the next step's going to bring me the following result, and really letting something better to happen to you, and to trust that it is going to be better, that what brings forth from your heart, from your soul, is ultimately going to really give you a different sense of fulfillment and joy from anything that your mind often can come up with as an idea. So, step number 1, because it requires discipline, because it requires will, and because it requires courage, we're going to have to practice. So, the first thing is we're going to practice developing this self-control and this will. And to do that, you're just going to try and find something simple to focus on for 2 minutes at a time. I would strongly suggest From the last month in February, we looked at desire and control of sense desires. And this is where we draw our awareness into one focal point of one sense felt feeling in your body. So it could be your breathing, it could be a smell, it could be a taste, it could be touch, and it could be sound or something visual. So you'll probably have a preference. Choose the preference for you that's going to be comfortable, that's going to inspire and motivate you to practice regularly throughout your day. And we're going to try and take 2 minutes to do this practice. So I'm going to do a short version for the sake of the video. We are just going to take a moment just to tune into whichever sense you would like to connect in with. And you're just going to observe the present sensations moving through it. Be aware of your feelings as you just sense. And try to purely witness what you're observing. If you went for sound, I'm hoping that that drill gave you a nice finishing touch. The second thing is to really develop our will. So this requires a bit of thought retraining. So we need to really be aware of what our thoughts are about our situation and whether or not we're trying to think our way to a solution, whether or not we're trying to see outcomes through our thoughts, and open up to a little bit maybe of big questions. What bigger, what more wonderful things could I receive? How could it be easier? How could this solution flow to me so gently and beautifully? What more fun and vibrancy could I feel as this outcome shifts and changes? So really try and open yourself to big, happy or inspiring questions and thoughts that lift you and lift your mood and your mindset. So this is your will. Your will is these thoughts for something better, something bigger and beyond. And then third, you're going to awaken your courage. Now, normally, most people will tell you courage to take an action. There may be an action that comes from you, from deep within, but I'm going to hazard a guess that most of us are busy doing a lot, and that means that actually the courage would be to not act. The courage is to stand still and allow. And that takes us to our fourth step, where we allow ourselves to fully let go and just give it all up. To stay and repeat, letting go, letting go, letting go, giving it up. Maybe you do a ceremony, maybe you do a movement in order to help you do that, to give it up. But ultimately, we want to fully set it free and allow something different to come through. And this is just going to be the practice. Have I surrendered? Is there a part of me that's still holding on? Is there a part of me that wants to be in control? Is there a part of me that wants to know? I give it up, I give it up, I give it up. And you practice these 4 stages of just learning to be in control, learning to shift your thoughts, learning to stand still and have the courage to not do and let it go. And perhaps, just different things, different solutions, different ways will present themselves to you. Best of luck with finding your surrender and finding those new possibilities that can take your life and your experience that you share with others to a much higher and more beautiful place, so we can find solutions for a different way forward for all of us. Much love.